Welcome, brave souls, to Fear File Chronicles, your one-way ticket to spine-chilling stories and terrifying tales. Tonight, we'll be diving into the darkest corners of the human mind with the story, Contagious, penned by the twisted mind of Lock 334. Together, we'll explore the unexplained and face our deepest fears. But before we begin, if you enjoy trembling in terror, be sure to hit that like button, share this video with your fellow fear fanatics, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click the bell notification so you never miss an eerie episode. Your support truly means the world to us, so feel free to leave a comment below to join the Fear File Chronicles community. Now, without further ado, let's unravel the mysteries of the unknown together as we delve into tonight's fear-inducing story, Contagious. Dim the lights and prepare yourself for a chilling journey into the Fear File Chronicles. Stephen had always been the class clown. We had been friends since kindergarten. Picture a short, chubby, fair-skinned boy with red curly hair and freckles. And you've got Stephen Polanski. He was often the target of ridicule, mainly due to his weight. I have never been one to judge people for their appearances, and I guess he appreciated that. Though he didn't have many real friends, it didn't deter him from trying to make others laugh. His humor was sometimes at the expense of others, which I cautioned against. Despite my warnings, he had to experience the consequences firsthand to understand. Our trouble began the summer before our senior year. Stephen and I were rummaging through the bins of a second-hand store. We came from modest backgrounds, so most of our prized possessions were from such places. We had just finished browsing a stack of horror movies, ones that went straight to video, bypassing the cinema. Our combined collection was about 50 films strong, and we were always hunting for more. As we left, with 6 new additions to our collection, Stephen pointed out an old lady on a bus bench. She was slightly hunched over, a thick coat mostly concealing her form. A kerchief hid most of her face, as she fed pigeons from a small paper bag. She took no notice of Stephen as he stealthily approached. Ignoring my frantic silent protests, Stephen revealed his own paper bag. He inflated it like a balloon, and with a swift clap of his hands, it popped. The old lady jumped. Birdseed scattered, and the pigeons flew away, startled. She stumbled off the bench, turning to see Stephen laughing and pointing at her. I shook my head, trying to distance myself from the spectacle. The lady, shaken, rose to her feet and slowly removed her head covering. Her gaze met Stephen's, instantly silencing his laughter. Her face bore the marks of age, but it was her glassy, graying eyes that made regret surge in Stephen's throat. Stephen stuttered, but before he could apologize, the woman spoke.
"Do you think it's funny to scare an old blind lady?"
He quickly negated her question, but slapped his forehead, realizing his blunder.
No. I am so sorry. I didn't know you were blind."
She bared her jagged, blackened teeth and asked,
"So, you wouldn't feel bad if I wasn't blind?"
Stephen stepped back as her bony finger pressed against his chest.
"I bet you think you are a real funny guy. I bet all your friends think you are such a riot."
Each word was accompanied by a poke, forcing Stephen to retreat until he was pinned against the store wall. She stopped, lowered her hand, and broke into a grin that was as unsettling as it was wide.
"How about this?"
she offered.
"What if every time you made someone laugh you hurt them?"
Stephen's eyebrows furrowed in confusion. She nodded quickly.
"Yes, I think that will do just fine."
She plucked a hair from Stephen's head and tucked it in her pocket. The old lady laughed and winked at me before walking away. I approached Stephen, who was rubbing the spot on his chest where he'd been poked. "I told you that one day you were going to get it pulling those pranks," I scolded. Stephen watched the lady until she disappeared around the corner.
"I honestly didn't know she was blind, man."
I reminded him it didn't matter. She was an old lady. He dismissed it and suggested we head back to his place to watch our new movies. I agreed, and we turned toward our bikes. Stephen's house was only a mile away, a short ride after getting off the bus. Before long, we were entrenched on his couch, immersed in a black and white horror movie. We watched two before I noticed it was nearing 10 o'clock, my usual curfew on school nights. I reminded him not to scare any more old ladies as I left. He chuckled.
Yeah, right.
The next day, Stephen was unusually quiet on the bus. This was out of character for him. When I asked, he simply said,
Not feeling myself today.
I thought he might be ill, so I scooted away slightly. Just don't give it to me, man. I have that chemistry final, I quipped. He assured me it wasn't anything contagious. The rest of the ride passed in silence. Upon arrival, Stephen tripped as he disembarked. Although I didn't see him stumble on anything, he later insisted something had tripped him. The hard landing on concrete would have been worse if he hadn't put his hands out. His fall was met with raucous laughter from our schoolmates. Stephen dusted off his jeans, gave a salute, and smirked, seeming to enjoy the attention. But then, something strange happened. The laughter didn't stop. Even as we walked into the school, the crowd, still laughing, followed him. Stephen halted in the entryway.
Enough! I get it. I'm not funny,
he bellowed. We ventured on toward our first classes Stephen and I didn't share. I'll see you at lunch, I told him, and he responded with a nod. Ordinarily, we'd go through the lunch line together, but Stephen was absent when I arrived. Starving, I couldn't wait. I figured he could find me when he decided to grace me with his presence. Halfway through my pizza, his tray crashed onto the table, half of his meal fleeing the plastic plate. I peered up at him. You all right, man? I asked, noting his fuming countenance.
Someone must be playing a joke on me. Every single person from this morning is still laughing at me.
I almost wanted to laugh myself, but Stephen's anger deterred me. That can't be possible, I suggested. Maybe they just start laughing again when they see you. Ignore them. They're jerks anyway. He sighed and finally sat down.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they're just trying to get to me. But it's starting to piss me off.
He grumbled, snatching a piece of fried chicken from his plate. I attempted to steer the conversation toward our after-school horror movie marathon, but we were interrupted. The intercom screeched to life. A member of the office staff was paging the nurse. The stout blonde nurse, usually tending to the sick children of our high school, hurried past us towards her office. We barely noticed and returned to our conversation until we had to depart for our afternoon classes. We liked these classes more, as we shared them. En route to our third period, we passed the nurse's office. A young brunette sat in the waiting area inside, her hands over her mouth, giggles spilling out.
This is bullshit,
Stephen muttered. Confused, I then realized she had witnessed his early morning faceplant. I was about to console him when I noticed the red, viscous liquid seeping between the girl's fingers. My eyes widened. While Stephen ranted about the seemingly universal hostility, my focus was the girl. I watched blood drip from her hand and speckle the floor. Her eyes spoke of fear despite her continuous laughter. They were wide, bloodshot, and filled with tears. I stepped toward the door just as the nurse spotted me. The door closed before I could inquire. We continued to class. I told Stephen about the girl once we settled in. He didn't believe me and accused me of joining the make fun of Stephen train. I assured him I was being truthful, but he shrugged me off and faced away. He remained quiet for the rest of the day. His silence gave me a chance to process what I'd seen. Could someone laugh so much they bled? The thought echoed in my mind until the day ended. We gathered our belongings, and as we waited for the bus, Stephen sat apart from me. Feeling betrayed, he told me as we reached his stop.
I don't feel like watching movies tonight.
The next few weeks were a quiet affair. Stephen spent his time talking to near strangers, leaning against lockers. I felt like he was seeking a replacement for me. Most people thought of him as an oddity. I was more worried about what his efforts might invoke. The first person I noticed Stephen engaging with was a fellow art student. Stephen cracked a few Van Gogh jokes, which had been a cringe-inducing experience when he told them to me. To my surprise, the boy started laughing. His laughter started as a soft giggle that grew into a maniacal crescendo. His laughter seemed forced, his eyes pleading for it to stop. But he didn't stop. He kept laughing and eventually fled the room. Stephen seemed upset, but I followed the boy. He bolted straight for the nurse's station. I watched as the nurse cursed.
Not another one.
The door closed again, leaving me without answers. A month later, half our grade was gone. Rumors about abductions, murders, and mass suicides circulated the school. Most hadn't made the connection that each person had laughed at Stephen Polanski's humor. But I had been keeping track. Not everyone bled from their mouths. Serena Popovich had a brain aneurysm during a fit of laughter after Stephen asked her out on a date. It was a joke, given she was a cheerleader. She didn't need to laugh, but she did, and it killed her. Things worsened in groups. Laughter spread to passers-by who hadn't heard Stephen's joke. The sound created a chain reaction, ensnaring everyone within earshot. Soon, large groups were stampeding into the nurse's office, and she was overwhelmed. I think the school's quarantine began after the homecoming dance. I didn't attend, but the lore tells that Stephen made an appearance and survived the bloody spectacle. The room was allegedly coated in blood-filled vomit by 10 o'clock. I haven't seen Stephen since they sent us home a week ago, but he started texting me. He's pleading for me to come hang out. He claims his father had a massive heart attack and died after chuckling at a comment he made. Stephen seems to believe me now. Each message begs for my forgiveness. Even though I usually humor him, I think I might pass this time. Well, my friends, we've reached the end of tonight's chilling tale, Contagious, by the talented Locked 334. I hope you've enjoyed our descent into darkness, and that you'll carry a piece of the Fearfile Chronicles with you as you drift into uneasy dreams. If our story left you shivering and shaking, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who crave a good scare, and subscribe to the Fearfile Chronicles for more haunting horrors. Remember to hit the bell notification so you're always among the first to know when a new nightmare awaits. As always, we appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Sharing your fears and frights with us truly means a lot, so don't be shy to engage with our sinister community. Until next time, remember to embrace the darkness, for it is within the shadows that our most terrifying stories are born. Good night, and stay scared.